The Toronto Raptors last season finished with a 53-19 record, which was very impressive since most people believed that the main reason they were a top team was because of Kawhi Leonard, but they showed they were still an elite team without him. They even had the third best record in the whole league. But in the second round of the playoffs, they lost in 7 games to the Boston Celtics, who didn't have Gordon Hayward. And the majority of the blame went to Pascal Siakam, as he was horrible as a number 1 option. And many people viewed that series loss as proof that the Raptors needed Kawhi. But I disagree, since Boston was a really good team, and the Raptors could have easily won that series, even with their best player being trash. In this year's offseason, they lost 2 of their best centers in Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka. So in today's video, I will be discussing how good I think the Raptors can be and their offseason. Please like this video to show support, subscribe to my channel to help me reach 500 subscribers before the end of 2020, and comment on this video to start a conversation with me, and play that intro. The Raptors' biggest move this offseason was re-signing Fred VanVleet to a 4-year, $85 million deal. I think the Raptors overpaid a little bit, but I think they had to do this since other teams like the Knicks or Pistons could have signed him instead. VanVleet is very important to this Raptor team because he provides scoring, shooting, and he is a very good ball handler and playmaker. His presence on this team just makes them way better. The Raptors seem like they want to stay competitive, and keeping VanVleet keeps them on that track. Raptors also re-signed Chris Boucher to a 2-year, $13.5 million deal. And I don't think this is a bad deal because Boucher has shown a lot of potential to be a really good player. And I think this season he will get a lot of backup power forward and backup center minutes. Boucher is an energy type guy who can be really good on defense, with him being an agile 6'10" 4 with crazy long arms. My only fear is that he could get bullied by bigger players since he's very skinny. But nonetheless, I think he will break out this season because he will be getting consistent minutes for the first time in his career. The Raptors also signed Aaron Baines to a 2-year, $14 million deal. And I think this is a good signing because Toronto just lost Gasol to the Lakers. And I think Baines can bring everything that Gasol did except the passing. Baines is a really good shooter at the center position, and he is also a great rebounder. Baines is one of the strongest players in the league, and he is capable of guarding the best bigs in the East, like Embiid or Brook Lopez. And I would say Bam Adebayo, but I think Bam is too quick. But I think Baines can defend him in the post. The Raptors also signed DeAndre Bembry to a 2-year, $3 million deal, and I think he can be a solid energy player off the bench. They also signed Alex Len, and I think in certain matchups he could play the backup 5, but I don't see him having a huge role. Losing Gasol and Serge are some big losses, but I don't think it is as big as many people are saying, because Gasol last year was injured most of the season, and when he returned in the bubble, he was atrocious on offense and defense at times, looking like the slowest player in the league. I think Baines can give you everything Gasol does, but Ibaka on the other hand was a legit loss, and I don't think they have anyone who brings what he does. Overall, I think Toronto's offseason was more of an L than a W, but I think it's a small L, since I think they got a bit worse, but they are still a top 10 team in the league. And I also like their signings of Baines to replace Gasol, and the re-signing of VanVleet and Boucher are pretty good. And with the signings of Bembry and Len, I'm content with them. It was obvious Toronto was going to lose some of their players this offseason, so I don't know if there was much of anything they could have done to make this offseason a win. The Raptors will also still have a 34-year-old Kyle Lowry, and although he's really old, I don't think he will have a major decline. Maybe he will lose a step, but I think he will stay a top 10 point guard who brings great shooting and ball handling. Lowry is also the heart and soul of the franchise, And although I believe Van Vliet could be better than him next season, he could still be an all-star level player. Pascal Siakam is a guy who is under a lot of pressure due to how horrible he was in the playoffs. Pascal has improved every single year of his career, from in his first year him being a bench player who doesn't play, to him in his second season being an energy defender off the bench, and to him in his third season being a second option on a championship team, and just last season being an all-star and a top 15 player in the regular season at least. So no one has any reason to believe he won't come back even better next season. And I honestly could see Siakam coming back with more of a tight handle and a much improved three-point shot. And even if he capped out last season and will be the same player forever, that is still an all-star and a top 20 player who is a great second option. I believe Siakam's game just doesn't translate to the playoffs as a number one option because it's too easy to game plan. But if he could come back better next season, it could be scary. I also expect OG Anunoby to take a leap next season and finally be known as one of the best defensive players in the league. I think he is good enough to make an all-defensive team next year, and although this season he was pretty good at shooting threes, I can see him improving even more. OG has a real chance to put himself in the discussion for the best 3-and-D players. And off the bench, they have Norman Powell, who might be the most underrated player in the NBA, because just last season, he averaged 16 points on crazy efficiency. Powell needs to be talked about more as one of the best bench players in the league. When people even think or mention the Raptors, they never think about Powell. Powell will be huge for the Raptors and will have a bigger role since Ibaka left. Powell can handle the ball, space the floor, create his own shot, and be a great perimeter defender. The East has gotten way better, and the Raptors have a lot of competition. One of their biggest competitors is the Bucks, who added Drew Holiday this offseason. And if I'm being honest, I think this move makes the Bucks better than the Raptors, and I think they're better because they have the better player and just as good of a supporting cast. And over the last 2 seasons, Milwaukee has been the kings of the regular season. The other teams that the Raptors would have to compete with is the Heat. And if I had to choose, I would go with Miami since they just made the finals. The Raptors also got slightly worse this season, but I don't put Miami significantly over Toronto. And in a series, I wouldn't know who to choose. Another team that is the Raptors' competitors is the Celtics. And if I had to choose, I would go with Boston, only because they beat Toronto last year, and there's a chance Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown can improve even more. But I don't think the margin between the two teams is huge, since they did go to 7 games last year. Another team Toronto will have to face is Brooklyn, and I will go with Brooklyn as the better team just because of their star power and the decent depth that they have. As for the other East teams like Philly and Indiana, I think Toronto is significantly better than both of those teams. But don't get it twisted, I can see the Raptors beating any team in the East, and I think they will finish with the 3rd seed because the Celtics will be losing Kemba Walker for lots of games. I don't see Toronto winning the championship, but I do think they will be a top 10 team and a dark horse to win the championship. Anyways guys, that's it for the video. Let me know where you think the Raptors will place and how good they will be. Please like this video because if you made it to the end, you obviously like something. Subscribe to my channel to help me reach 500 subscribers before the end of 2020, and comment on this video to start a conversation with me. Also check these 2 videos up above if you like this one, and I'm out.